I thought you were smaller. And welcome to my March TBR Assemble. If you don't know what TBR Assemble is, I'll leave a link up above to my original video, but essentially this is my TBR game based on the Avengers, and each of these different squares has a different number in it, each one has a different colour. Those colours then match to these cards. Each of these cards has a different character on there, or organisation, or something to do with the Marvel Universe, and each one has a different prompt for it. So with that, let's get into the roles and exactly what I'm reading this month. And actually quickly, before we go into the roles, I've got to quickly mention I am doing two readathons this month. The first one is Middle Grade March and the other one is Iridium Gear Up. And with that, now let's get into the roles. So today's little figure is going to be SpiderGwen because I quite frankly love her and I don't have a Moon Knight, but I think the sort of hood thing here looks a little bit Moon Knighty. That's my excuse anyway. So let's get into role number one. Had to go really far there, didn't it? That is a 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Purple, that is fantasy. Well, actually, no, this is sci-fi if I remember right. No, this is fantasy. Ignore me. Alright, I'm gonna go here, and that is Morbius. Free choice. My first prompt was Morbius, which was a free choice, so for that I've gone for Show Us Who You Are. This is a contemporary sci-fi kind of idea where the main character is autistic and there's something to do with a hologram. I can't remember much else, I just have heard brilliant things about this book and Elle McNichol, the author in general. It is own voices for the autism rep as well, which is very, very interesting to me because I want to read more own voices in disability authors, things like this, and I am also autistic, so I'm very excited to read this one. And it's also counting for the Multiverse Legacy prompt, which is to read a sci-fi for the Iridium readathon, and it's also counting for contemporary book for Middle Grade March. Role number 2 is a 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's up here. That is red, and red is reality. So this is retellings, if I remember rightly. So I'm gonna go this way, I think this one, and that is You Took Everything From Me, a sadder book. My second prompt was You Took Everything From Me, which is to read a sadder book, and quite frankly depression is kicking my ass right now, and March is also my birthday month, so I did not want to read a depressing book in any way, shape or form if I could help it this month. So what I've done instead is to change this for a free choice. Just for now I will choose sadder books when I'm feeling a bit better, things like that, but right now I am not in the mood for a sad book. So what I'm going to be reading instead is The Gilded Ones by Namina Fauna. Now this is own voices for the black representation. That's all I really know, further than the fact that it says outcast by blood, warriors by choice. Are we girls or are we demons? Are we going to die or are we going to survive? I basically know nothing else about this, further than the fact that this has got some really, really good reviews. Apart from that, I know nothing, but I am very excited to see exactly what the fuss is about with this one. It's also on the priority list, so it's another one I can tick off as well before July, like Abby has challenged me to do, so it's going to count for that as well. But very excited. I don't think it's counted for any prompts. No, because it's not middle grade, but either way I will be reading this one. I'm very excited. But also quickly before I go, can we just appreciate the sprayed edges here? Because they are stunning. Roll number 3 is a 3. That always amuses me when that happens. So 1, 2, 3, yellow. And yellow is the Mind Stone, so this is the own voices and things that would expand my mind section. So pick this one here, and that is Red Guardian, a chaotic character. My next prompt was Red Guardian, which is to read a chaotic character, and there is no character more chaotic than Skullduggery Pleasant. Skullduggery and Valkyrie and Tanith and just about everybody else involved in this book is chaotic. Skullduggery himself is the definition of chaotic neutral, so I had to pick this one. This is Dead or Alive specifically, and it is the 14th book in the Dead Famous read-along. That is the read-along I am co-hosting for this series. It is the 14th book in the Skullduggery Pleasant series, which is part of the Dead Famous read-along. That's right. But that's the first time I've gotten that wrong, so I'm quite happy that it took 14 attempts before I got it wrong. Anyway, so this is the 14th book. It is an urban fantasy set in Ireland about Valkyrie Kane and Skullduggery Pleasant, who save the world from various magical threats. This is the 14th book. It is the second to last book because the final book is out in April, on April 14th, and I'm not ready. I'm not ready whatsoever. Completely and utterly not ready, but that's a completely different video, and that will be saved for my reading vlog when I get to, until the end. But either way, this is the 14th book. I'm so excited to read this one. I love this series so much, and I cannot wait to see what all of these chaotic characters get up to in this one. Roll number 4 is a 1, so we just go 1, so we go to green, which is comics. This one here, it's just calling to me, and that is Ajax, continue a series. My next prompt was Ajax, which is to continue a series. So for this, I am going for X of Swords, or I should call it 10 of Swords. It's actually pronounced 10 of Swords, not X of Swords. But anyway, this is the next one in the series after the Dawn of X series. So this is like what's been it's been leading up to. It's the next big part of the Dawn of X series, or just the X-Men series, I should call it. I keep on calling it Dawn of X. It's technically X-Men by Jonathan Hickman, but there we go. So X of Swords is the next part in the series. We've had a few swords sort of turn up, and I think we're just getting to like a big battle royale thing or something like this. It seems like it's going to be slightly multiversal with like Excalibur, King Arthur, all the rest of it. It sounds really, really interesting. I cannot wait to read it. I've been loving all of the X-Men so far, especially considering I've been mainlining the Dawn of X series this month in February, so very, very excited to read this one. My only thing is that this is 700 pages long, which I didn't realise until like last night when I looked it up and I went, it's how long? So this is going to be fun. This is going to take me like 2 days to read, but I'm very, very excited to read it because I love the X-Men. I love where this is going. I cannot wait to read this one. And then I can treat myself for my birthday with Reign of X, which is just exciting, which is the next part after X of Swords. But either way, long story short, X of Swords is the next one, which is continuing the X-Men current run, which is a series. It's just sort of like a, not spin-off, it's sort of like a culmination thing. It's sort of like the Infinity War of the X-Men universe at the moment. That's how I'm going to describe it. It's sort of like Infinity War in the sense that everybody's all coming together. That's all I really know, but I'm very excited to read it. Roll number 5 is a 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is light blue, so that is this one here. So we're back onto SciFi. Let's go this way. The Watcher, book I've had my eye on. Interesting. And then my next prompt was The Watcher, which is to read a book I've had my eye on. So I decided to read the Graveyard book. This is another one that is part of my priority list for the year. I was obviously going to save it for Halloween because it's very Halloween-y vibes. But then obviously, like I've said before, Abby's challenged me to read my entire priority list before July. So this is happening now. I'm in a bit of a spooky mood. I'm always here for spooky books. So I'm hoping for the best. This one is about Bod specifically, who is a normal boy, but he's been raised in a graveyard by ghosts. That's all I really know. I just know that I quite like Neil Gaiman's work. A couple of his books have been hit or miss for me, but I'm hoping this one's going to really, really work for me. It's been on my list for a very long time, so very excited to read it. Then my final roll is a 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Orange fanfiction. Love that. And then my final prompt was fanfiction, and I'm not telling you what fanfiction I'm reading because quite frankly I don't know. But obviously that is not the end of my TBR because I have absolutely no way to just stop at 6 books. So I've got a few others I'm going to tell you about, so let's get into it. But quickly before I get into the books, I've got to mention the one other graphic novel, because of course there's another graphic novel on this list, but thankfully there's only one, because I've not exactly graphic noveled myself out throughout February, but I'm just thinking I should probably get through some books. But the other graphic novel I need to read is a Moon Knight one. Now, I specifically don't know which Moon Knight I will be going for, but I do know I will be reading a Moon Knight comic because Moon Knight the TV series is coming out on Disney Plus on March 30th, which is just so exciting because I haven't had a new Marvel thing since like December 17th, and I don't know what to do with myself without new Marvel stuff every single week. So I've been in a bit of a haze for the last couple of months, but Moon Knight is coming out, so I will be reading some of his comics for research purposes, otherwise known as I want to read some Moon Knight. The only thing I really know about Moon Knight is the fact that he is a mercenary who is possessed by the god Khonshu, who is an Egyptian god, and he's also got dissociative identity disorder. This is literally all I know. I will obviously be filling more in around the time that it comes out on the Comic Book Sanctum, and I will also be doing a full Moon Knight reading vlog as well throughout the course of his TV show airing. So look out for those two things, but at the moment I'm just putting a placeholder Moon Knight comic on the list. I don't know which one I'm going for. I will decide nearer the time, but there will be a Moon Knight comic read at some point in March. I'm saying at some point. A Moon Knight comic will be read on the 30th of March. Let's not lie to ourselves here. A Moon Knight comic will be read on the 30th of March, if not more than one. But Moon Knight will be read. Long story short, too long didn't read. And then outside of comics, I've also got Dragon Warrior by Katie Zhao. This one is set in San Francisco, and it's all about Farin Liu, who longs to become a powerful warrior, but the only problem is that since their father disappeared, her and her brother Alex have been forbidden from training and must hone their skills in secret. That's all I really know about this one. I've heard a couple of good things. I really wanted to give it a go, and it's also counting for the prompt of set in Asia or featuring an Asian main character. This is own voices for the Chinese representation. It's also based on Chinese mythology, but it's set in San Francisco. But because it's got a Chinese main character, it's an Asian main character, so I'm counting it for that prompt. I then have a childhood reread, and that is The Secret of Platform 13 by Eva Ibbotson. This one counts for the prompt of a book that's older than me, and you have no idea how hard that was to find, because all of my books are generally published after the year 2000, so I was very, very stuck, especially considering I was talking about middle grade here. So I was looking at like Artemis Fowl, I was looking at like 101 other things, and most of it was written in like the year 2000 onwards. I'm born in 1996. I couldn't find anything until I remembered I owned this book, and this book is The Secret of Platform 13. This one I read when I was a kid, loads and loads of times. I always remember reading this a lot as a kid, and it was published on March 25th, 1994, and I was born on March 23rd, 1996, so I was like, well, it's definitely counting. It's also a sign because it was technically around my birthday, 2 years out, but there we go. So that is what I'm reading, and I can't remember much about this one, so I'm just going to read the back of it. It says, a secret gateway to a magical island, a lost prince, a wizard, an ogre, a fae and a hag make this a fun, fantastic fairy tale. And that's all I remember, apart from this animal on the back here, which I think is a seal, and if I remember rightly, they sigh tears or mist. There's something to do with these seals and sighing. I can't remember much else, but I thought it sounded really, really interesting, again, to reread, especially around my birthday, because this was a childhood favourite. And also that description just reminds me of The Princess Bride, which is very similar in that sort of sense that you've got this whole list of things and it's sort of fairy tale-esque. So yeah, cannot wait to read it. It's only 184 pages as well, 184 very, very yellow pages, and it's also reasonably big writing as well, so I'm thinking it'll be a quick read, and I'm going to need a quick read at some point this month. So Secret of Platform 13 came to my rescue. I've then also got Gallant, which is V.E. Schwab's next book. This one has been described as The Secret Garden meets Crimson Peak, and quite frankly, I didn't even need to know what the synopsis was because I am Schwab trash. So I was immediately going to be picking up the second it arrived through my door. But then it was described as being like Crimson Peak, and I love Crimson Peak. It's one of my favourite movies of all time. I don't care about The Secret Garden whatsoever, but Crimson Peak is one of my favourite movies, so I am all over this, cannot wait. And then I also have Shauna Maguire's Indexing. Now this is a fairy tale retelling urban fantasy type thing where fairy tales known as mimetic incursions are sort of taking over, or like it's where the fairy tale narratives become reality, often with disastrous results. And the final line of this says, it doesn't matter if you're Snow White, Sleeping Beauty or the Wicked Queen, no one gets a happily ever after. And I'm so excited for this. I love Shauna's work. I'm slowly becoming Shauna Maguire trash as well. I love her work so much. I have loved everything like I've read of hers, and I also want to get through more of her backlist, which is 65 books long, which is scary, but there we go. And I wanted to get to this one, A, because it's the one I'm most excited for at the moment, B, it's the shortest series, because the other series that I own, well, I've got the first 2 books of, both of them are 15 books long, and I was like, not at the moment. Let me finish a couple of other like long-standing series first before I get to that. C, I also think the next book's supposed to be coming out maybe this year, I think. Maybe. I could be wrong, don't quote me on that. And also D, I wanted to read more retellings this year, and this is a retelling, so very, very excited to read this one. It's a little bit chunkier, but I don't really care. I really want to read this one. It's been on my shelf for like a year now. It's about time I got to it. And I think that's everything, but I'm also currently sort of maybe considering also reading another Shauna Maguire book, which is Over the Woodward Wall, by under her name A. Deborah Baker, because I own that one, and I think the next 2 in that series are also out now, and it's a novella, and I'm like, I could manage to read that this month as well, and I could then buy the next 2 for my birthday, but then that involves starting yet another series, unless I try to sort of say it's part of Middle Game. And I also want to read those before the next book in Middle Game comes out, which is out in May. So I may also add Over the Woodward Wall, because it is Middle Grey March, and even though that's not going to cover like any prompt, I still want to read it. I may add that, I don't know. I'll see how time goes. But that is currently the idea. And this, if I can get hold of it all, is the stack, which looks big, especially when you, well, do not drop it. Again, I've already dropped this stack once, but this is the stack, and it works out at about 123 pages a day, which is reasonably doable, you know, so I'm hoping for the best here, but we'll see what happens. I'm not going to hold myself to reading all of this. As long as I get through like the TBR Assemble stuff, I'm happy, but I mean, that's a reasonably good stack. It looks quite healthy. That gets a lot of books off the TBR, so fingers crossed. And before I convince myself to read anything more and try to put more on this list to stress myself out throughout my birthday month, which I don't want, that is going to be the end of the video. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me which book I should start with. Or if you don't have that much time, leave me an apple emoji down below to let me know that you're here. I'll also leave a link down below to all of my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel Comics, which will have stuff about Moon Knight around the time it comes out for you to check out if you are interested in the character. Or if books are more your thing, I'll also leave a link down below to my Etsy and Redbubble store, which sells bookish merch and bookish bullet journal stuff. Or if you just want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time everyone, bye!